If you're ready to harness the power of your communications data, blast off with Nylas today.
Hi, Ram. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Ash.
And happy Hacktoberfest. I know that you've, I see that you've blinked out your name there with both the Nyla emoji and a Halloween pumpkin.
Yep.
You got more flair than I do.
All in Hacktoberfest for sure.
That's awesome. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So you're, been running our whole Hacktoberfest involvement for Nylas, and been working with a good number of contributors. And we wanted to just it's the middle of the month. We've had some awesome contributions so far, so we kind of wanted to walk through that a bit. And I think later on in the stream, you're going to take us through a bit of the process of what it'll take to successfully submit a pull request during Hacktoberfest.
Yeah, so we'll definitely look at contributors. It's exciting to kind of share what everyone's been building with Nylas and all the contributions we've seen. And yeah, in terms of PR, we do have a checklist, and I really just want to point out what myself or blog or any maintainer would be looking through when they're reviewing a PR. I just want to emphasize those steps, and we're gonna jump in. I'm really excited to jump in and share a contributor that's put together a really interesting code sample. I'm using Nylas in a very interesting way.
Yeah, awesome, cool. I can't wait to check it out. So I'll let you just to kind of take the steering wheel, and I'm just gonna sit here and be amazed by all the cool stuff that's happening.
Awesome. Let me share my screen, and then we will jump in. So first, I want to highlight all the contributors that we've had through Hacktoberfest. So we've had a few people contribute to many different pull requests. So we've had Nickel. He's made some great contributions in Java. We've had Amit. So Amit will actually show very soon one of his code contributions, and he actually submitted 4 contributions, all building with Nylas. So he's submitted 2 contributions using Python, and as well 2 contributions using the Nylas Node SDK. We also have Daniela. She was one of the first contributors to the Nylas samples repo. And as well, we have contributions for Divyesh and as well from Shovik.
Really cool. By the way, you just called out a second ago that number 4, which I believe is a special number during the month of Hacktoberfest.
Yeah, so I definitely want to highlight that for Hacktoberfest, to complete the hackathon or to complete participation in Hacktoberfest, you want to have 4 different contributions to any repository or open source repository that has the topic Hacktoberfest.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so let's take a look. Before we jump in and start looking at code, I just want to highlight some things that we look for, myself, blog, any maintainer, for the Nylas code sample. And as well, you can find all of this on our Nylas sample / Nylas Hacktoberfest.2022. So this is our repository online where we have all of the code samples that we're looking for, and we welcome open source contributions. So a few things that we look for when we're reviewing the code is we want to make sure that the purpose of the code sample is clear. So anytime you create a PR, this checklist will show up on the PR automatically. So you don't need to add this or look for this while you're creating your code. But definitely when you create the PR, you will see this checklist. And it's always good to take a look at the PR checklist ahead of time just to make sure you have everything that you need to submit a PR. So the few things that we look for is we want the purpose of the code to be clear. And when doing development, there are few audiences you need to think about. And the audience that we really want to look for is the actual developer that would be using your code sample. So the purpose of your code sample needs to be clear for other developers to come in and say, hey, I want to take a look at this code sample. I want to try it out. Is it actually going to be useful for me, or is it something that I should look at? And as well, the code sample is readable. So we want to make sure that the code is clear, it's understandable what's going on, and it's clear to a developer that they can come in and they can try it out right away without having to make any changes to the code. And as well, just emphasizing the first point, we want to make sure that we have steps on what we need to do to set up the code sample, if there are any environment, any variables we need to set up, and as well, how we can actually run the code sample. Following that, we do like running code samples in a code space environment. So we'll take a look at that shortly. But the code space environment is a feature that's available from GitHub. So this is a feature that you can use on any repository from GitHub to be able to run repositories in a code spaces environment. And we've shown this in the past few videos, how to set up and use code spaces. And just kind of following along, we just want the code to work as expected. So we just want to be able to see the output that we're expecting. And this is useful for developers to say, okay, if I successfully run this code sample, what is going to happen? What am I going to see in the output? And then I can actually confirm that it works as expected. And the last but not least, and this is for Hacktoberfest, we just want to add a label, Hacktoberfest accepted, to show that we've accepted that pull request or code contribution. And there's nothing more to do for that code sample or for creating that code sample.
All right, nice walkthrough. And I'm guessing that we'll get to see a few of these things here in a little bit. I think that having the code spaces environment, by the way, it might be worth noting that it kind of implies that you know, if you're looking to do like a mobile app or something like that, you really want to talk to us first, because that's the kind of thing that we won't be able to run inside of a browser and check to make sure that everything's working. So I think we may have had like one request like that so far that we've kind of had to talk to developer at length about. But if you're planning on doing something like that, please reach out before you do. That way we can kind of like get a game plan in place. Yeah,
that's a good point as well. Before taking on any issue or ticket, just set up a dialogue with the actual maintainer. Say, hey, I like to take this on. This is what I'm thinking of doing. It's always good to have a bit of a conversation. You can learn from other developers even before you start coding in terms of what's expected, what needs to be built out, and if you're on the right path, because we want you to be able to kind of create a code sample and share it, and as well be successful in having that code sample merged. So definitely have that dialogue up front. And the one code sample that we're going to look at today is, I want to show the actual issue that we created. And this was done by Amit. And as well, congratulations to Amit for creating 4 different code samples. And this was his 4th one with Building with Nylas for Hacktoberfest.
That's amazing.
And in this code sample, what we requested was actually creating contacts using your last 3 emails. So basically what this code sample would do is it would take your last 3 emails for any user account. So in this case, I would use my user account to test it out. And it would actually create 3 contacts for you in your actual communication provider. In my case, I'm using Google. So it would create 3 Google contacts for me. So let me jump into the code space environment and we can take a look at what this code looks like. So I just loaded up the Nylas Hacktoberfest 2022 code space environment. And before I look at any code, I can just show you where you can find this. So this is under the contacts folder. And in the contacts folder under node, because it's built in the node environment, we have the create contacts from emails. And the first thing we would look at is we're going to take a look at the README, and it gives you an example of what the code sample is going to do. It gives you instructions on what to set up. So we need to add environment variables. And as well, it tells you how to install any dependencies and what the output will look like. So from there, we can quickly take a look at the actual code sample. And here we see we're bringing in the Nylas environment, we're bringing in the contacts, and as well, we're setting up the Nylas client from lines 5 to 10. So here we pass in the client ID, we pass in the client secret, and as well, we pass in the access token, which will be for a specific user. So this is a connected user's access token that allows us to read their emails and as well access and create new contacts. So in the code, what we're doing is we're accessing the messages, we're limiting it by 3, and then we're just taking the message, and for each message, we're going through and creating a new contact. And then we're actually saving that contact below. So let me open up my terminal and let's try running this code to see if it works, to see if everything works. So I just want to make sure I'm in the right location. And I'm going to do npm start, or I could do node index.js. So if I do npm start, this will run the code. Oh, 1 second. Let me take a look at the README. Actually, the package.json. So it should be npm run start. npm run. No such file.
I'm guessing that you may need to CD into the directory where this app is. So it looks like you're at the top level of the repo.
I think I actually CD'd out before. So let me just copy the path. There we go. So let's do cd into the path. So we actually need to go to the actual directory. One thing that I didn't mention is that I installed the node module. So you can always just run npm I to install the node modules. And now we should be able to run npm start. And this will run the code. And it's going through and checking my last 3 emails. And what it's going to do is it's going to create 3 contacts. So if I take a look, it says contact created, and it creates the actual contact for me. And it does it for 3 of my past emails. So it's creating contacts for my 3 past emails. And it's actually taking the email, and it's taking the email and creating that as a part of the contact. So the contact includes the name and as well the email.
That's really cool. It's a great sample. It's really nice and tight, and I and kind of like does a good job of illustrating how to do something like this in JavaScript. I think a couple of things with the code specifically that I'd call out, just kind of having a look at this that I find really pleasing is like, you've got these nice sort of short comments above anything that's kind of doing something, a particular maneuver. So like you could read through those comments, reading the last 3 emails, creating the contacts, then saving the contact. That's so clear. And the other thing that I think is worth calling out is this generous use of vertical space, which gives the code room to breathe. Again, which, you may have your own thoughts about, we all have our own opinions about how we're going to write code when we ship it and apps that we deploy. But let's keep in mind that in this case, what we're building are resources for other developers to come in and learn from you about, what you're doing with these APIs. So I think, giving some of those line breaks, there's no code on line 16, for example, but that's actually very helpful. It gives, just makes it a little bit easier and more approachable for a new person to come in and kind of learn from your work.
Yeah. That was about it for the code sample. So again, definitely want to congratulate Amit for completing Hacktoberfest all through building with Nylas. So feel free to jump in. We love to have more contributions. We love working with developers, even just helping you along the way on building with Nylas. So check out our code sample repo at Nylas/samples/Nylas Hacktoberfest 2022. That's on GitHub, so you can as well find all our code samples on GitHub as well. So we'd love to have more contributions, and we look forward to the next few weeks on Hacktoberfest and seeing what everyone can build with Nylas. And I'm just getting more excited. I know myself and Blog and Ash, we're going to do a bit of a brainstorm for more things that we can build in Nylas and kind of share it with other developers. We love to see what you can build and what you can really take away from building with Nylas.
Yeah, and let's it's worth reiterating here. In this stream, we focused on a JavaScript sample, but keep in mind that we're a REST API and at Nylas, and that means there's plenty of room for contributions from people working with other languages. We have SDKs in Node.js, of course, also Java, Python, and Ruby, but you're not necessarily limited to that. So if you're a PHP developer, for example, and want to contribute, you'll be able to still work with our APIs, and we'd love to welcome samples, with PHP or other languages like that as well.
Awesome. And as well, just want to end off with our YouTube channel. Feel free to check out youtube.com/c/Nylas for more videos. We have videos coming every week, I think twice a week. And as well, we have blog content coming out as well. So feel free to subscribe and follow along.
All right. Thanks for walking us through this, Ram. Thanks for watching, everyone.
See you. Bye.